Trump campaign files a complaint over blatant foreign interference by the Labour Party in the US election. We're going to read into this more from Sky News, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Sky News with the headline that the Trump campaign files a complaint over blatant foreign interference by the Labour Party in the US election. There is no evidence the Labour Party has made any financial contributions to the Democratic campaign, something that is prohibited under US law. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. Now, before we read into the article, I was just going to give my initial thoughts, and then I'm going to play a video for you, but I can't show you the video because otherwise I'll get copyright strikes. But I'll come to the video shortly. But first, so the story is about Labour volunteers, and this is the key word here: volunteers going over to basically work for the Harris campaign, and there is a question about whether or not there is any kind of blatant foreign interference here. Now, I'm not a legal expert and I don't know in detail about US law, but what I do know is that it has been normal for people who have been members or supporters of a political party, very low-key, low-level people who have a genuine love and passion for politics, can sometimes volunteer their own time and commitment to be involved in politics and elections in other countries. And this is apparently this has always been a normal thing. It's always been normal for people of other countries to come over and take part in campaigns, and completely voluntarily of their own accord as well. And that's what apparently this has been the case here. Now, is this blatant foreign interference? As far as I'm aware, from what I've read and from what the information that I've gathered, that has not been the case. Now, if by chance that this is blatant interference, it is found by US electoral law that this is foreign interference, then you also have to say this about Nigel Farage. You have to say this about Nigel Farage. You cannot come in my comment section and tell me that Labour are blatant foreign interference and Nigel Farage is not. You're 100% hypocrite if you're not saying that. He has literally stood at Republican, speaking on behalf of Republicans back in 2016. He's been at rallies. He's literally worn the hat. You cannot tell me that that is not the same thing. If you have a problem with this, then you also have a problem with Nigel Farage being over there as well. You can't have it one way or the other. It has to be either there shouldn't be any interference from any aspect from the UK, or they should be allowed. So I want to make that very, very clear here. And then this question that was brought up. So this was actually today. This came up today on the 21st of October. Chris Bright on politics on the BBC Politics Live Social asked Nigel Farage, who was speaking about this. He asked Nigel Farage about £30,000 plus of support that goes to support Donald Trump. Now, are you going to tell me that there's definitely nothing to see here as well? You're going to tell me that there's nothing here to see? Well, I'm just going to play the video and I'll let you guys judge it for yourself. Obviously, I cannot play the video, bring up the video to you, but yeah, you can hear the audio at least for you guys. So,
got Chris Bryant here in the studio. Chris.
So they did go under their own steam. I just want to ask a question, Nigel. My understanding is that your flight this year was paid by other people, and you've had £30,000 of support to go to support Donald Trump, haven't you?
So there's a limit of how much contribution you can make, and I believe the limit was $10,000. Now, obviously, Nigel Farage, as you know, has been taking a lot of flights to America. Now, some people may try to argue that, Nigel Farage is going over there just to visit and support Donald Trump. He's not taking part of the election campaign at all. But surely, if you don't want to be a part of the election campaign in any way, shape or form, maybe it's best to distance yourself from your friend while this campaign is taking place, surely. Just saying. Now, unfortunately, I just point out as well is that Nigel Farage gave himself more time to answer the question by saying that he didn't hear the question and then doesn't answer the question about the £30,000, by the way.
Oh, Nigel Farage, have we lost communication to you?
Can you just
yes,
repeat
Chris, would you repeat that question?
Repeat what Chris said?
Yes, sorry, Nigel. My understanding, and you'll correct me, I'm sure if I'm wrong, is that you went earlier this year to support Donald Trump in an election year, and you had your flight and your expenses covered, and you've had £30,000 worth of support for you in going to support Donald Trump. Isn't that, or have I got that wrong?
Well, you get things very often wrong when it comes to me and money, so we'll be careful.
Well, come on then, clear up.
I went purely at the last minute. I went in a purely personal capacity to offer my support after the first.
But did you pay for your own flight?
No, I hopped on somebody else's plane. They gave me a free lift, but I didn't.
I hopped on someone else's plane. They gave me a free lift. Oh, it was a free lift.
Which I declared, but I didn't go. I didn't campaign at all, actually. Didn't campaign at all. I went purely in a personal capacity as a friend of him and the family. That's very, very different.
Right.
Yeah, personal friend of the family. That's what he wants to make clear there, guys. Personal friend of the family. Clearly nothing to see there. So let's be very clear about this. Like I said, yeah, if you have an issue with volunteers taking part in the Harris-Wells campaign in the US election, then you also have to say that you have a problem with Nigel Farage being a part of the Trump, having taken part in the Trump campaigns, in previous Trump campaigns as well. It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. You can't have double standards on this, guys. You really cannot. So it's very, very clear to make. And if you want to, you can go back as far as 2016, where literally Nigel Farage was standing on the podium with Donald Trump. You're going to tell me that there's nothing to see there. And by the way, if you want to point out the fact that Nigel Farage wasn't an MP, he was still part of a political party, just like these volunteers are part of a political party as well. Just want to point that out as well. So let's read into this article. So Donald Trump's campaign team has called for an investigation into what he claimed was blatant foreign interference in the election by the Labour Party. The complaint to the US Federal Electoral Commission claimed that there had been interference in the form of apparent illegal foreign national contributions made by the Labour Party of the UK, which had been accepted by Kamala Harris's campaign. It references a Washington Post suggested that strategies linked to Britain's Labour Party have been offered advice to Kamala Harris about how to back disaffected voters and run a winning campaign from the centre left. It also mentions a Telegraph report suggesting Morgan McSweeney, Sir Keir Starmer's chief of staff, and Matthew Doyle, his director of communications, attending a convention in Chicago and met with Mrs. Harris's campaign team. Well, it's also very important to point out that Sir Keir Starmer also met with Donald Trump earlier this year as well. That's also want to make that very, very clear. There is no evidence that the Labour Party has made any financial contributions to the Democratic campaign, something that is prohibited under US law. But some of Mr. Trump's allies have nevertheless taken issue with the Labour Party staff volunteering on Mr. Harris's campaign, even though he is permitted under US law as long as the said volunteers are not compensated for their work. In a now deleted post on the network site Lincoln, Labour's Party head of operations Sophia Patel said last week that I have nearly 100 Labour staff members. Actually, I can show you guys this actually. If you give me just 1 second, I can actually show you guys this actual picture. Because this is the thing, like I do think context does matter, obviously. With some of these things. Give me 1 second here. Get rid of that. I'm just going to pull it up for you guys here. So this is it here. So Sophia Patel here on Lincoln saying, I have nearly 100 Labour staff, current and former, going to the US in the next few weeks, heading to North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. I have 10 spots available for anyone available to head to the background states of North Carolina. We will sort your housing. Email me at labourforkamala@gmail.com if you're interested. Thanks. Now, like I said, if you have a problem with this, you also have to say you have a problem with Nigel Farage as well. So I want to make that, I've said that before and I'll say it again. It's very, very important that I put that on the record as well. So you can't have it both ways. And that's really important out to the Reform voters to the reform ravagers who are subscribed to my channel. It is understood that the trips are for individuals in a personal capacity, funded by themselves in their own time, and they're not organised or funded by the Labour Party. We've just seen something there, haven't we? The accommodation has also been arranged by volunteers campaigning for the Democrats. The complaint filed on behalf of Donald J. Trump for President 2024 said that foreign nationals are prohibited from directly or indirectly making a contribution or donation of money or other things of value, or to make an express or implied promise to make a contribution or donation in support of an American candidate. US laws forbid any financial contributions, donations, and expenditures from foreign nationals in any elections. They are also prohibited from participating in decisions involving election-related activities. However, they are allowed to volunteer in campaigns as long as the individual is not compensated by anyone for their service. Last week, a government minister told Sky News it was normal for Labour staff to campaign for a Democratic candidate. Asked whether Labour staff were helping with the Democratic campaign and could damage the UK's relationship with the US in the event of a Trump victory, Alice McGovern had told Sky News, as far as I know, this is a voluntary thing and it's about volunteers going and sharing their time. This is a normal thing that happens in elections. This election is not the first time that both Labour and Tory staff have campaigned for the Democrats and Republicans, to whom they are closely linked. And this is a very good point here. Tory staff have campaigned, Tory staff with Republicans as well. So do we have a problem with Conservative staff campaigning on behalf of Republicans, perhaps? Do you have a problem with that? Let me know as well on that one as well. David Axelrod, a former advisor to Barack Obama, helped Ed Miliband's campaign in 2015. Do we have an issue with that? While Jim Metzger, another former Obama campaign aide, assisted David Cameron's campaign for the same year. Senior Conservative in the UK, noticeably former Prime Minister Liz Truss, has also attended high-profile Republican events, including the National Convention in July. Again, this is a high-profile UK politicians. So again, if you have an issue with this, if you have an issue with the Labour Party members being volunteering for the Harris campaign, you also have to say again, you have to have a problem with this as well. You can't be one side or the other on this. It's very, very important, I want to stress. As recently as last month, Keir's former pollster Deborah Madison reportedly met Mrs. Harris' campaign team in Washington to share advice on the election following Labour's landslide victory in July. The Prime Minister also held his face-to-face meeting with Mr. Trump in New York last month. Keir said ahead of the meeting that he was a great believer in personal relations on the international stage. I think it really matters that you know your counterparts in any given country and know them personally and get to know them face to face. So I want to put this on the record as well, before we go on this as well, that I do not have a problem with it. I do not have a problem with it if it is. I do not have a problem with it as long as it's not breaking any laws. Now, the question is, of course, as I said at the start of the video, is there a case that US law has been broken? Like I said, I'm not a legal expert. There may be some legal experts in the comments that may dive into that. But I really would like people to explain to me that if for those who think that what Nigel Farage, what Liz Truss have done were perfectly satisfactory, but these volunteers on behalf of Labour don't think it's satisfactory, explain to me what the difference is. Like, really break down to me what the difference is, because I think this is just something to swing at the Labour Party with. Now, I also want to point this out. This, at the moment, at the time of this recording, this is not something that's really talked about much in the US, because obviously all the eyes are talking about, they're not really interested in what's happening in the UK right now. All eyes are on sorting out this election. Literally, the entire planet is at stake with this US election. And I've spoken about my opinions about the US election. But obviously, it's whether or not they have prohibited or broken US laws. Now, the electoral campaign are, as far as I'm aware, the electoral campaign on behalf of in the US are looking into the matter. They have not commented at the time of this recording of this vehicle on the matter either. So they are looking into it. But like I said, if there is something here, then they need to look at Then they need to look at Nigel Farage. Then they need to look at Liz Truss. They need to look at other previous things as well. And that's really, really important context, because, like I said, you cannot have a problem with this and not have a problem with Nigel Farage's experience, with Liz Truss' experience. And did we have a problem with Barack Obama there as well, that we've seen in this piece as well? So you have to factor all these things in. It's really, really important. So, based on all this and what I provided, what do you guys honestly think? Do you think that there is something here? Do you think there is blatant election interference? Do you think there's nothing to see here? Do you think this is just used as by the right-wing media as a tool to try and bash Labour over the head for the next 2 days as they go in towards the budget? Is that what this is? Because they're looking for something, anything to kind of bash Labour with? Or is this a really bad move by Labour's team? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.